the next Shabbat. 20 years ago was a bright sunny day like it is today. And I remember clearly that I was in my office in the Shaare Tefila building in White Oak, meeting with a preschool family. And then Isabel Bobrow, may she rest in peace, called. And I don't know why I picked up the phone in my office while I was in the middle of the meeting, but I think someone must have buzzed in and said, "Isabel's on the phone for you." And I don't know, Isabel had called at other points in previous years. Those of us who remember Isabel Bobrow, again, was the former mashgiach and kitchen queen, as people, I think, refer to her, in the other building. And she had called me at other occasions to let me know about some news. Like she had called me on the Saturday night that Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated, in case I hadn't seen the news. So she called me that morning and told me a plane had just flown into the World Trade Center. The absurdity of that statement was such that I'm picturing a small propeller plane flying through the fog and lost, and perhaps then at the last second saw the World Trade Center. So I said to Isabel, because it was such an absurd statement, "Thanks for letting me know." And I went back to my meeting with the preschool family. And then, in the meantime, a TV was taken out. This is 20 years ago. So we had a small black and white TV somewhere in the office that Brenda, where I just mentioned her name in the art sites for this week, Brenda, may she rest in peace, took out of the office, and we were all transfixed to the television that day. And then I get a call from Betsy Wolk, because Marilyn Pontel had not been a member yet. Marilyn and her husband Gary, may he rest in peace, had not joined the synagogue yet. So Betsy Wolk had called to say that their son-in-law is missing, and he was in the Pentagon. So it was, well, I guess the best way to continue is I want to share with you some paragraphs from the sermon that I shared with you 20 years ago. Some of you were in that room in the sanctuary and at Lockwood Drive 20 years ago. Remember, 9/11 that year was a week before Rosh Hashanah. Exactly a week before Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, there was still no word as to whether Darren Pontel was still alive or not. What kept hope alive for Darren and for Devorah and their family was that she got a ping on her cell phone from his cell phone after the attack. And she thought maybe he was still alive. So his body hadn't been found yet. And I'm trying to figure out what to share and what to say to you 20 years ago. It struck me, we had a member of the congregation, Ed Friedman. You remember Ed and Annabelle Friedman? May they rest in peace. Ed Friedman used to call me up with questions. And sometimes he would send a fax with a question. And that week he had sent me a fax with a question. So I thought, maybe I'll write a letter to Darren and read that letter as a sermon on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. So I want to read now some of that at my intro to the letter and then some of that letter. So I said, "So much has happened this past week that it's difficult to articulate my feelings. I feel angry that such a cowardly and despicable act could have been carried out. I feel despair over ever hearing good news about Darren. I feel overwhelmingly patriotic as our country pulls together to pursue justice and stand up for our values. I feel intense grief for the thousands of lives lost in New York and the scores of lives lost in the Pentagon and in Pennsylvania. I feel elated when I hear news of survivors, and I feel tremendously grateful for the hundreds of rescue workers who are working around the clock. They are owed a tremendous debt of gratitude, and I have also felt that my belief in God has been severely tested. With all of these thoughts constantly passing through my mind, I have found it very difficult to respond to last week's events in a cogent, clear way. I want to try to start to make sense of last Tuesday, try to regain my equilibrium, but I'm finding it hard. How can I make sense of it when I officiated at Darren and Devorah's wedding exactly 6 months ago? How can I make sense of terrorists using human beings as weapons? How can I make sense of 2 110-story buildings collapsing with thousands of people inside? So I thought I would write a letter. Letters are more informal and allow for a stream of consciousness. They come from the heart and reflect the sincerest of thoughts and intentions. Letters allow for catharsis and help us begin to understand how to at least begin to wrestle with a problem. I thought by writing a letter to Darren, I could begin to know how to cope. Dear Darren, Marilyn, by the way, is not here today. I had told her I was going to do this. She's at the Pentagon at the memorial service that's taking place there. So it's with her permission that I am doing this. 6 months ago, I was standing on this bema addressing you and Devorah as you became husband and wife. You were such a handsome, beautiful couple. The deep love and affection you had for each other was felt by everyone that day. And in fact, your love is a blessing for all who know you, and now you're missing. I want you to know how much of an impact you have had on your family and friends these past few days. I want you to know some of the things I have seen as I have spent these days with Devorah and the family. Maybe by telling you these things, not only will you feel comforted and proud, but I'll begin to make some sense of this ordeal. First, Darren, you should know what an incredible woman your wife is. Not only has she been strong enough to talk to all the Navy and FBI officials and provide all the necessary information, but she has done everything humanly possible to find you. She has been working the phone, talking to as many people as possible to ensure that every lead has been followed and that nothing has been missed. Her perseverance has been heroic, and she has been an inspiration. Your family has also been incredibly supportive. Your mother-in-law has not left Devorah's side. Your father-in-law has been to the Pentagon every day, talking to people and trying to find you. Your parents and brother have been with her every day. A crisis like this could tear families apart. Yours is the furthest from that. Everyone has been so comforting to each other, hugging each other, crying on each other's shoulders. The love and friendship that is evident has been overwhelming. It's been a lesson to me of the power of family. When there's love and support, one can survive the most horrendous of tragedies. Surely the fact that you are missing has been horrendous. It has strained their emotions and energies. Yet, deep down, they know they are not going through it alone. Yes, this is the second time your parents are going through this. Remember that Darren had an older brother who was in the Navy also, who was killed in a training accident a number of years before. Yes, your young bride can't comprehend that this is happening. Yes, this is enough to make anyone go over the edge, but they haven't. Your family has made sure that everyone can talk honestly and openly with each other. Your family has made sure that everyone feels loved and cared for. Your family has made sure that everyone will get through this intact, and it has been a privilege for me to witness your family's compassion, and has been helpful for me too. I've seen the power of family and community, and I've been overwhelmed with a sense of pride in my country. Your Navy has provided an incredible support network for Devorah. The Navy has a group of counseling officers that in times like these are assigned to individual families. Their responsibility is to the family to find answers as they look for you, to answer any legal questions, to help with paperwork, and to show Devorah and your family that the Navy cares for its own. The officer assigned to Devorah has not left her side. He has been her lifeline. His compassion and concern have been a source of strength to her. That officer is only a couple of years older than you and is also a graduate of the Naval Academy. He has told stories of his days in Annapolis that allowed Devorah and her family to laugh. His stories are also serve to help to keep you alive. By hearing his stories, it's as if you were in the room. It has been a tremendous source of help for her. I went on. Darren, I looked at your wedding pictures the other day. I saw the wonderful smile on your face. I saw how you and Devorah were looking at each other and how wonderfully lost in each other you were. I still remember meeting you and Devorah in my office and watching you hold hands and smile at each other. It was beautiful to behold. It's that zest for life that enables me to celebrate Rosh Hashanah today. It's your love for Devorah that enables me to continue to find meaning in life. It's your loving family and friends that enables me to continue to live every day. Our prayers are with you, Darren. We can't imagine life without you. We have learned a lot from you already in your 26 years on earth and from your family. We only hope and pray that you and your family can continue to experience the joy of life together and continue to teach us such positive lessons. As we begin a new year together today, may it be one filled with love of family and love of country. May that love allow this year to be tova umetuka, good and sweet. Tragically, the next day, second day of Rosh Hashanah, Herb and Betsy Wolk came up to me at the end of the service to say that Darren was found. And we had the funeral 2 days later in the synagogue with a bigger crowd than we had on Rosh Hashanah. I said at the end of the sermon that Tikkun Olam, acts of loving kindness and good deeds, is what keeps us grounded and enables us to move on and to survive. Devorah, thankfully, was able to, after a number of years, to find love again, and I was privileged to officiate at her second wedding on Chesapeake Bay, and she is a loving wife and a mother to her stepchildren. And she, I'm sure, does not forget Darren, nor have we forgotten Darren, and we are, I would say, we are honored to have the memorial alcove in the gallery named in his memory. Today in the Washington Post, a number of articles about 9/11, of course, but I highly recommend that you read Sally Jenkins' article. Sally Jenkins, longtime columnist for the Washington Post, was based in New York City at the time, 20 years ago, and she wrote a beautiful article today just about her experience that day, and quoting an evolutionary biologist, Stephen Jay Gould, who said the same thing, that evil happens in an instant, but good has roots and has a system that enables good to stay intact and anchored and unshaken. So that, I think, is the message for 9/11. Evil can happen in an instant, but good lasts forever. I just want to end with this thought. Many good thoughts in this collection called Jewels of Elul. Different people sharing thoughts about the power of their parents. And Natan Sharansky's daughter, Rachel Sharansky Danziger, wrote something for this Jewels as well in reaction to terrorist attacks that were happening in Israel on a regular basis. So she says, I spent my adolescence going to funerals. Here a dead child, there a friend's father, dead, 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 murdered by terrorists who hate us. You shouldn't be here, said every bomb, every knife, every death notice. We will never accept that you belong. In between funerals, I would sing along to Uzi Hitman's I Was Born to Peace, Noladati La Shalom, a hit song in Israel whenever it played on the radio. I was born to peace, let it appear. Noladati La Shalom, Shirak Yofia. But with every death, these words came to taste more like wishful thinking, and the longing in them like despair. So when my father, Natan Sharansky, said, when the situation will change and peace will become possible, I cut him off. Let's be honest. You know that it will never happen. But my father looked at me, and in his eyes I saw all the people who told him not to fight the Soviet regime, not to risk his life for lost causes. Well, he said, it will certainly never happen if you assume it won't and just stop trying. Now I keep this truth with me as I wade through life's harsher realities. It reminds me that regardless of what is currently impossible, everything can always change. May the memory of all those killed 20 years ago inspire us to continue to fight for justice and peace in this world. So let's